Man, oh man, Dratnos, I'm looking to buy a Mythic Sylvanas kill, and I hear that your guild is one of the top 100 guilds in the world. Could you provide me with a Mythic Sylvanas kill?
Yep, me and most other top guilds do sales. It's something that doesn't get talked about. I guess it does kind of get talked about some places, but it's also news to a lot of people. I've learned from the last couple of weeks. So let's get into it. What are we talking about today, and why are we talking about it?
In the community lately, boosting specifically and in sales, as we refer to them, has been a pretty hotly contentious topic, and the reason that it's been so contentious it got sparked off of the most mundane tweet from Quick, Mike Ybarra, who's the president of Blizzard, and he says that he's going to stream his heroic Sanctum of Domination sales and high-ish end Mythic Plus tonight, starting at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right? This is a very, very standard tweet. And the issue is that people started to focus very heavily on this streaming our heroic Sanctum of Domination sales runs. And if you see right here, this has 150 quoted tweets. That is very surprising for a tweet that is this
There
normal.
was a Reddit thread as well with some contentious takes on this one as well. So definitely, it was something that sparked a lot of discussion. And there's a lot of misconceptions as well around boosting, and a lot of different, I think, valid opinions and discontent with the current state of boosting. Talks about its impact on the integrity of the game, trade chat, these different sorts of the advertising in the LFG space, all these different kinds of things. The boosting communities phenomenon that we've seen develop really from the end of Legion towards now, that is a new development from the way it all used to work. So let's kind of dive in and explain how the system works right now, explain where people's takes are coming from, but try and do it in a respectful way that
Yes.
avoids it being too inflammatory. Because this is a topic that tensions get high on. We want to take a step back and make sure to cool things down a little bit.
So I think the first thing that's maybe not super discussed is that boosting has been around for a very long time. Boosting was even around during like the original vanilla, right?
You could pay people gold for like Zul'Farrak dungeon runs where they would get on their max level character, run through Zul'Farrak, kill mobs, and you'd level up that way, and that was faster than like doing it the original way. I remember that being a thing when I started playing in 2000, very early.
2000 and very early, of course.
Man.
But yeah, no, boosting has definitely been around for a very long time, so it's not super new in the space. But I think it's kind of taken more of a mind of its own as of late. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So the development since Legion has been the creation of these boosting communities that sort of corporatize boosting and have instead of just people finding some, posting in trade chat, hey, I'm going to do a Zul'Farrak run. I've got 4 spots, 10 gold per spot. Whisper, going in 5 minutes, that kind of thing. And that it's now like, okay, we have people organizing, people, creating the Discord and the website, people advertising, and then a bunch of boosters that will bid or click as fast as they can to try and get each of the boosts as the advertisers find them. And each of those people along the chain get a cut of the gold. A common misconception is that all of these posts are RMT posts. The overwhelming majority aren't. Some there are like, especially before a recent update that made it so you needed to be level 60 to post in the group finder. A lot of the group finder posts were just, they would put their website that was an RMT website in there. Yep. But most of the boosting communities, RMT is strictly banned all along the chain. But they end up having a huge amount of gold condensed in especially management. And so invariably, a lot of those communities will end up RMTing
with one or two people.
One or two people that get like 1 billion gold will realize, oh, I could RMT this for a lot of real life money, and that lure becomes too tempting for them to avoid. But up until that point, it's not like the people actually doing the boost are seeing real money out of this at all. It's all people trying to get their gold for consumables for the raid, right?
And for the record, I do think I don't think that either you nor myself believes that like the RMT aspect of this is like the part that's being discussed. I think that the RMT element of this is pretty cut and dry. It's against terms of service. You should not be RMTing if you were playing the game. Blizzard is actively opposing that. They will ban you. They will Also, strike away if you're in management of a service. We've heard of rumors
They'll
of
nuke the whole thing, right? Yeah.
billions, literally plural of gold being banned. You're like, oh,
Yeah. The thing is, though, even though most of the process is not RMT in the sense that people aren't getting real life money, with the exception of those kingpins in a couple spots, and the shady websites that do RMT stuff. But most of the big communities with the guilds boosting and stuff, nobody's making real life money out of it. They're making gold, but people are paying real life money to buy WoW tokens to buy the boosts, right?
yes,
So that creates the feeling of people swiping their credit card to earn something in game that other people have potentially struggled a lot for, right? Like AOTC this tier, really significant accomplishment to do that with many groups of players, right? Like it's a hard fight. It requires a lot of mechanical skill and endurance from a group of players to do. A lot of guilds end up doing 50, 100 wipes on Heroic Sylvanas before getting it down. And you can also go and pay 300K or something, 200K now, to go and just get yourself carried through it. Swipe a credit card, $15 buys a WoW token, and you can do it that way as well. And so, that's a big thing that sort of cheapens the experience for people that as they become aware of that dynamic.
And I think a part of it too is like one of the biggest arguments that you hear in opposition of this is, I think first one is like trade chat. I think that one's like fairly common. The second one that we already brought up was trade chat, and the second one is like it lessens the value of the achievements, and it's hard to determine who is boosted versus not while pugging.
Right.
And there is this conception that players who are boosted are going to go around and misappropriately flaunt their achievement as like they earned it and stuff like that. I will admit that is fairly few and far between, and I personally, I pug a decent amount, haven't really experienced somebody that I've thought was legitimately boosted, gotten mad enough to pull up their Warcraft logs or Radar or whatever and be like, oh, I need to validate my opinion by looking at this, and then got mad enough to be like, oh yeah, they definitely got boosted through a run by these people.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument because some of the same people who put this one forward also are just don't like the idea of having a rating in general, right? And it's the same sort of argument like don't invite based off of score. Score is a misleading indicator. And definitely, it's definitely true. There are certainly people who buy a boost for the achievement and, then try and use that to get into groups. But in general, if you're doing that to get into stuff way above what you could be doing, it'll be pretty obvious pretty quick, and it doesn't work out all that well. It sometimes can get you invited to stuff. There are a lot of other reasons, though, to buy a boost, right? Like gear, adding Sylvanas and Kel'Thuzad to your Great Vault, and then being able to get them for future weeks. There's great value there.
If you're just... I think one of the most common things is like PvP, like high-end PvPers
right.
will buy a boost in PvE, or PvEers will buy a boost in PvP. I mean, we know... You and I have friends of ours who have bought boosts in like the alternative content, and they're not going out and being like, "Oh yeah, I earned this." They're
right.
Like,
it's just
I needed that.
I need a badge for PvE. I need this stupid, Shards of Domination 259
for Mythic Plus
for PvP or whatever. Like all of these sorts of things. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people doing it for gear for their desired form of content, or just for gear on an alt. Right, an alt hits level 60. It's item level 183. And you're looking at it and you're just like, okay, I could buy a heroic full clear for 800K, right? And I have 10 million gold in my account. I should do this. Or even if you don't have the gold, right? If you're like, oh, I pay $60, right? I just paid $60 to boost to 60. Why don't I save 3 times that much time of gearing by buying this, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I think it comes down to the question is like, is boosting really bad for the game? Which I think that there is no correct answer. I do think that there are definitely two distinct lines of thinking. Nagi ended up presenting one of them that I thought was pretty interesting on Twitter. He says, boosting sucks. There is a reason that it's banned in other games, and I wish it was not a thing. The importance of gold and WoW makes people participate in it, and yes, it does hurt others. Blizzard should not Blizzard should have enough resources to enforce a new stance against boosting. So I actually just don't want to dismantle this argument altogether. I'm trying to think about how we move forward with this. Do you want to tackle this one first?
So I think this is it's a very reasonable place to be coming from. Like if you could hit a button that removed boosting entirely, or ideally for me, the thing, like I don't have a problem with somebody farming herbs, and then using their herbs to buy a dungeon run from my guild, and then my guild, gets the herbs effectively without having to farm the herbs, right? Like it all sort of that sort of ecosystem inherently makes sense for me in an MMO, right? Some people are gatherers and gold makers, some people do are adventurers, and the gold is used to facilitate the buying and selling of those goods and services. That makes sense to me. But where the WoW token gets involved, it does start to feel icky. The problem is that before the WoW token, we had the same thing where people would pay real money to get boosted. It was just you had to be willing to break TOS and risk,
And
getting your account banned, and risk getting other innocent people who were tangentially involved. If you did a boost run where there was RMT involved, even if you didn't know there was RMT involved, even if you were just getting gold, there are a lot of bans throughout history that went out on people in that situation. So I think
yeah,
that the problem is I actually don't know if there is an easy way to enforce a new stance against boosting, but I'm definitely open to the idea. Yeah, I mean, I think that, but again, I think the problem is really it's the WoW token. It's not the boosting, right? It's the fact that WoW token is letting it be done for something other than one in-game service for another.
yeah, and it was definitely something that was done behind closed doors a lot previously, where
Right.
I remember Arkham. I don't know if you remember Arkham, but whenever they released the Moose mount for Arkham, I remember there were people that were selling Arkham every single day up until Legion launch for $15 a run, and they were just doing. I know people that have thousands of kills of Arkham heroic, and just getting $15 a run, and like that stuff was, it was against RMT, but is effectively the same thing, right?
Well,
Except.
so
That's
Blizzard's,
one WoW token, except now it was
right.
$50.
Blizzard hardened their stance against RMT around Nighthold with a bunch of high-profile bans of a lot of guilds, and so since then you wouldn't be able to get away with that kind of thing at scale as easily. But people would still, like, if it wasn't for the WoW token, people would definitely still go for it. It would still be done. If you could get the ban rate high enough, maybe you wouldn't. But I don't know. I mean, it's people are sneaky. I don't know if you could make the chance caught high enough. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are behind all these things, but I'm definitely, I think it could be something worth looking into. But I doubt that Blizzard would be interested in removing one of the huge drivers of WoW token sales. I'm not sure.
That's true. That is true. I also think that another thing is different. Like the reason that boosting is honestly banned in other games, specifically MOBAs, is because of how results oriented it is. In an MMO, like an MMO is so deep in terms of like what you are and you aren't doing, where boosting isn't innately just the worst possible thing, because there are different avenues for performance and there are different metrics for like what is success. And I think it comes down to, it's very difficult because, like we were talking about, some of these people that are buying boosts are just high-end PvPers or just like medium-end PvPers who want some PvE gear, and they're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll shell out for a boost.
Right. Yeah, it's like on the one hand, getting gear from a form of content that you don't want to do, I think that should be something you should be able to pay gold to do. But should you be able to get cutting edge or effectively get ranking on a ladder of either Mythic Plus rating or PvP rating, which is pretty equivalent to say Diamond in League of Legends, right? Boosting up to that. I don't know. I mean, it's a murky issue. There's things pulling in both directions on that. I think another interesting argument is the argument of like, oh, trade chat. Trade chat is now just full of boosting community spam, which is certainly true. But for me, that one is one where it's like, I think the game has lost all the things trade chat used to be for.
Discord killed those.
For that.
Discord killed everything that trade chat was about.
Not just Discord as well. It's like enchanting vellums killed the need to LF enchanter. The way that crafting professions and gathering professions have all been moved to being auction house sellable has removed the need to find a blacksmith to do your blacksmithing crafting, right? You just go to the auction house and you just go to the auction house to buy your enchant, to buy your gems. You don't need to, like, if you look at the earlier versions of the game, trade chat was often full of like jewel crafter looking for work or looking for alchemists, all these sorts of things. And there's just no need for anything in trade chat except for services like this, because Blizzard has made quality of life improvements to make everything else auction house tradable. So I don't know what you'd get back in trade chat except for the, Baron's chat style of people saying a funny word and then linking an item.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the community elements, stuff like that, has moved to Discord, right? I do think that Discord has been a big driver. It's done a lot of good things for the WoW community as a whole, but at the same time, it's kind of killed some of this server unity stuff that you see sometimes. But I mean, in classic on classic realms, you do see a lot of more trade chat activity, looking for mage portal stuff like that.
Because there is more friction in the
true.
game, right? There, you don't have the quality of life to just do everything by yourself. You need to get other people, which that is a double-edged sword, right? It's annoying to have to do all that stuff.
I do think so I guess the last two arguments to really talk about is whether or not is boosting bad is the fact that you ultimately can't boost the highest form of content, and then I guess the second one would be it makes achievements worth less for people who are actively grinding for them legitimately. Or you want to start with which one?
Yeah, so I mean, you can get 2400, right? You can I mean, you can get Glad, you can boost to Glad, although very few people do. But there are people you can pay tens of millions of gold to get you up to Glad. You can get Cutting Edge. You can't get Hall of Fame necessarily, although you can find a Hall of Fame guild, join it if you really want, and pay them to let you do that and wear your Fame Slayer, because you just need to be in a guild that has Hall of Fame. You can boost. I mean, I wonder if anybody's going to be able to boost Tormented Hero. I imagine probably they will. I imagine some of the very top teams will take on some multi 10 million gold boosts for Tormented Hero. It'll be like those top 5 or 10 teams that are able to do it. But I mean, I think you will be able to boost to basically anything that the game has.
I guess
it's like you can't boost your way to World First. You can't boost your way to AWC or MDI, but you can get pretty much all of the live server rewards from boosting.
Yeah, I mean, that Tormented Hero one is.
I think it's doable, right? Like
where the
cutoff is right now.
Rank 1 PvP is not boostable.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah, Gladiator is. Rank 1 isn't.
Gladiator is definitely boostable. Rank 1 is almost certainly not.
Rank 1 is boostable with outside of TOS methods, right? People, that's piloting that gets done to do that, which Blizzard smashes that down as much as they can, but of course people get away with it.
Piloting is very bad. I think that
do not do that.
You and I are on the same stance. Like, piloting is very bad. I mean,
you will probably get banned, but there's stories.
We even saw. I mean, there was guilds in Nathria that piloted other guilds to Fame Slayer.
There was a big scandal of that with the Alliance Hall of Fame filling up based off of piloting, and then
I think, I don't know. It's just weird. Ultimately, I don't feel like it invalidates other people's achievements, because I feel like a lot of the achievement is about the journey that it takes to be able to earn those achievements. And like, a lot of my experiences weren't necessarily the end result of, oh yeah, I'm so happy that I got Cutting Edge that tier. It was more like, I'm so glad that I embarked in the journey and like improved so much as a player to be able to be in a position to be able to get Cutting Edge, like that kind of thing. I don't feel like the achievement is diminished by somebody else being able to buy it, but that's obviously just me personally.
Right. I'm the same way. Like, for me, I couldn't buy the accomplishment that I had, with in rating. I couldn't just if I purchased the same achievement with a boost, it wouldn't do it for me. But for some people, it might. And similarly, for some people, the fact that other people could buy it might. I mean, that can diminish your achievement. Again, that doesn't feel that way for me. But if your feeling is that, then that's valid. Sure.
So I think on a personal level, I don't personally feel like boosting is that bad. I do understand that both sides of the argument, though, where it's just like, get over it. Oh, it ruins my experience, that kind of thing. I do think that there are both sides to it, but ultimately it's like,
I think it's in a pretty healthy equilibrium right now, where like most changes that could be made to the way it works right now would make things worse, not better. But there might be a even healthier equilibrium, particularly like without the existence of the WoW token. But I don't know how much money that makes Blizzard. Maybe that's keeping the servers online. I don't know.
Probably a lot. It's saved me a decent amount of money in terms of like how much I have to spend to sub.
True.
The game.
That is another benefit that isn't mentioned, is that top end raiders, we get to have our consumables and we get to pay our sub fee with sales rather than having to like grind, alchemy or herbalism, right? Like that was the thing that you needed to do in Classic and TBC, right? Was you had to have guild people that were good at gold and in charge of professions and stuff. And nowadays you just don't have to.
Even Classic now, you just have people that are in charge of professions, but at the same time you do like GDKP runs, and then they get the gold to be able to buy the materials, right? So it's still a little bit different. But I think that the culture has changed a lot in terms of like revolving around sales. How many sales are being done? What can and what is being boosted has also changed a lot just over the years. It's definitely a little bit different of experience.
All right. Well, I hope we've done a good job of covering as many perspectives as possible. If we missed yours, put it in the comments, just the YouTube comments, the Wowhead comments. Let us know what you think. Do try and remain respectful of other people's opinions, of course. This is a topic that quickly gets heated. Try not to be the reason in these comments.
Would you like to read this final note from Mr. Yabara?
Gaming is a unifying force. ... bringing us all together across the hobby we enjoy and love. While everyone has differing views and opinions, let's be kind and make epic memories in games we enjoy.
We will see you guys in the next video.